Hello, bonjour, welcome to the Jerick Show. I, as always, am your devilishly handsome host, Javad Malik, where we talk about. I see the graphics are playing up, but welcome to the show.
Welcome to The Jerick Show, featuring your hosts, Javad Malik and Eric Krohn. Timely topics, poorly presented.
I'm not one to blame the intern, but, I will blame the intern on the graphics getting messed up. So let's call in the intern. Mr. Eric Krohn, how you doing?
That's about as clever as I can be today, man. I'm doing okay.
And that is different as opposed to...
Oh, now come on, you wound me. You
no.
you wound me.
You're like a rhino. Nothing can penetrate that thick skin or thick head.
You're probably not wrong. You're probably not wrong. No, I'm doing okay, man. How you doing?
Yeah, good. It's Friday, so can never really complain that it's a Friday.
True story.
But yeah, no, this has been a great week where I've been feeling like a really old man. So if you just allow me to indulge you,
please indulge. Yeah.
Oh yes. So I've had blood drawn because blood pressure. My doctor. I also had a really interesting conversation with someone about diabetes, and that wasn't fun. And then I spent like 30 minutes inside one of those MRI tubes, getting some scans done.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I know.
And you talk about me being old.
I know. I think it's infectious. I think it's infectious. You're hanging around with you too long. But get this out. NHS, it was all free. Didn't cost me a dime.
Oh
Isn't
man,
that an alien?
That just hurts, man. That hurts. That's okay. We spend our $5 or $6 or $7 or $800 a month on insurance and then get the huge bill afterwards too. So I mean, it's part of what we do over here in America.
Yeah. It's preposterous. What it's just absolutely beggars belief that this is how your healthcare system works. Anyway, something else that beggars belief.
Oh yeah.
LastPass says employees' home computer was hacked and corporate vault taken. There is just so much to unpack just in that one headline. I do not know where to begin, but someone was using their home computer not just to access emails and stuff, but they had access to the corporate vault. The corporate vault, which when you're a password management service, is your crown jewels. It's like a banking employee working from home on their own machine, which you have no control over, and going into the back end of the mainframe and running your jobs or something. I probably said that. There's probably some banking people out there thinking, yeah, we do that all the time.
Right. Yeah.
I mean directly. I don't mean in a virtual desktop environment or something like that. But what's your take on this, Eric?
Again, right? And I used to recommend LastPass. I liked it as a product.
Yeah.
But like we said, I don't know, a week or two ago when they last got breached again, they obviously have some issues with their corporate culture and how they're handling this kind of stuff. I mean, it just, and maybe it's just me because I'm still pissy about them doubling the price, but everything was a reasonable price. They came in, they were acquired by GoTo, I think, or LogMeIn. LogMeIn bought them and basically doubled the price of the stuff. And now we see this stuff going on over and over again. So GoTo also had a breach, and these are all sister companies under LogMeIn, which I used to use LogMeIn actually when I was working for an MSP. It was a great little remote access product. So it's not that I hate these products, but clearly they're not in a position to be handling something as important as people's vaults like this. I just don't know. I mean, the technology sound, I'm not really worried about the passwords being stolen But again, this just is such a bad flavor.
It is. It is. It's for me, it comes down to trust. It's not so much that the technology is flawed, like you said. I'm not that worried about the vault being cracked itself, but it's just how much do you actually trust the company? And to be clear, I'm not victim blaming here. I'm not saying that there's an issue, but if you're a password manager service today, in this day and age, you are probably one of the juiciest you've got the biggest target painted on your butt. So you need to act accordingly. And I think that is the failing. Like, it seems like it's being run as just another software company or a SaaS product, and it's a lot more than that.
We talk to a lot of people. And when we're at conferences, we talk to companies, we talk to organizations. And I know I definitely promote the idea of using password vaults, because password reuse is obviously a huge issue. But I don't know about you, but I always get the question, well, isn't it dangerous to keep all your stuff in one place? And what happens if something happens to the company? I'm tired of having to explain this when this kind of stuff happens. It's like a race to the bottom between them and T-Mobile at this point, right? It's like, how can we screw things up worse than the other? Maybe they're going for an award. I don't know how your football and stuff works over there, but over here, our American football, if you do horrible that year, you get first pick of players next year around. So maybe that's what they're trying to do, is they're trying to go for some subsidies by screwing up as badly as possible. I don't even know. It's just getting really, really kind of ridiculous.
It is. How's your blood pressure? Shall we move on to the next story?
Yeah, we should probably. I'm testing my meds right now, I think.
Okay, so U.S. Marshals Service suffers major security breach that compromises sensitive information. Senior law enforcement officials say. Well,
yeah, this was ransomware hitting the Marshals Service.
Now, who are the Marshals? Because you know what I hear. So this might be a good point for you to educate me and some of our international audience out here. There's obviously police, which is funded by each state. So like New York has the NYPD, San Francisco has the SFPD.
That's by city.
Yeah, that's by city.
Yeah,
sorry.
Police is city. Yeah.
Okay, police is city. What's a sheriff?
A sheriff is county, which is the next larger area. So there's lots of places that are kind of rural. They don't have a city police for all the little towns, right?
So they have a sheriff that covers a wider area, but fewer people.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, cool. What's a marshal?
It's a federal group, and exactly what they handle, I don't know, because we have so many federal groups, right? We have the FBI. We have the Secret Service, which, believe it or not, does more than just follow the president around. They're actually involved in financial transactions and such, right? So they're I believe they're responsible for like counterfeiting and stuff like that. That all actually falls under Secret Service. And then the Marshals, I always see the Marshals as the ones that are hunting down like people that are wanted, very wanted, right? So
like Harrison Ford, and when in that movie, like with Tommy Lee Jones, was it U.S. Marshals?
Something like,
where he's trying to track him down, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they have like the top 10 most wanted list. They have stuff like that. I honestly don't know where their authority lies. But here's what I will tell you. Oh, you know what they do? If I'm not mistaken, they also do the aircraft stuff, like being a cop on the plane. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong about that. Yeah. So if somebody knows, this is a great time to utilize our comments, folks, and we'll see it live. Okay. Yes. But here's what I do know. It takes big guts to go after a federal group like this, because we see what happens when the heat comes on somebody. We saw it with DarkSide. We see what happens when they piss off the large Fed groups. And it's kind of interesting. There was a talk I was watching the other day. where Bryson Bort was talking about some things. He does ICS stuff, and he was kind of talking about like exactly where is that line where you go from annoying them to being like a kinetic response, right? We were talking about nation state attacks and like, you know, China messing around with stuff and probing defenses. Well, at some point in time, there's a line where it becomes a kinetic response sort of deal, right?
Yeah.
And I just don't know how wise it is for these groups to go and screw around with an organization like this. Now, it's entirely possible, much like with the Colonial Pipeline system, that this is a matter of an affiliate in a ransomware as a service type thing accidentally kicking off something that the developers really didn't want a part of. I mean, we know that this affiliate developer relationship in like ransomware as a service and malware as a service is an interesting thing. Who knows what's going to happen with that? But, you know, DarkSide, they hit the pipeline. They came back and said, hold on a second. From here forward, we're going to approve anything that's launched before it happens. And of course, they still had all the heat on them. So they ended up shutting down shortly afterwards. But I don't know. That's what I'm wondering. But God, don't go poking the bears, folks.
Oh, come on. This is fun. This is with, I mean, like, as a bystander, it's fun. You grab your popcorn, you watch them poke them, and then you see them getting poked back with like 9mm hollow points or whatever they carry. I'm acting like I know what bullets are, but you know what I mean.
You know how when we travel, you always end up with the guy in TSA going like this? Well, you just made the list even bigger. Okay. You're like, yeah, it's kind of funny to watch the Marshals. And they're like, okay, Malik. Here we go. Let's highlight his name on the list now.
Okay. So before we move on, between police, sheriffs, marshals, on that whole scale, where is Dog the Bounty Hunter?
You know, he doesn't abide by the same laws. You can tell because he doesn't carry a gun, just huge cans of like bear spray. Right? So the bounty hunters, you know, they get like people that skip out on court. They don't show up. And so they've jumped their bond and then they get paid to go after them. They still have to actually run by, I think, the same kinds of rules that we do. But they get a little bit more leeway from the police because they're licensed, kind of like a detective, like PIs.
Like Magnum.
So. Yeah, exactly. Magnum PI.
Okay, let's.
Did you see? There's a new one of those.
No. Unless it's Tom Selleck, I'm not watching it.
Yeah. It just doesn't. Yeah,
we are rapidly losing anyone that's born after like 1993 right now. It's just like they're like, who are these people? What are they talking about? And the film with Harrison Ford and Tommy Lee Jones was called The Fugitive. I think US Marshals was the follow-up from it. But anyway, Activision, everyone's favorite gaming company, they got breached in December, and they got breached via a smishing attack. Someone helpfully posted this on Twitter. It's like employee status under review. This is to a HR employee. And then they said, note, please respond with a 2FO code sent. And they responded with the code. And then it said, issue resolved. So they're happy.
Interesting. You know, we don't talk much about smishing. And smishing, for those that don't know, it's like phishing, like you get an email, only it's through SMS messaging. You can see us security people were incredibly clever by just adding something to ishing. Kind of like the name of this show is Jarek, as in Javad and Erich, right? Super clever. You can tell we're smart by how we come up with stuff like this. But smishing are those text messages you get. And this is actually it's kind of funny. They're asking for a 2FA code. Like where would that just kind of like pop in and just be like, hey, it's Tuesday. Do you like chicken? Send me a 2FA code. Like, is this something that normally happens that they have a 2FA code?
No, it's not. But I think what this is just a lack of awareness of how these things work. People sign up for it and they're like, okay, I'm going to get a code. I'm going to punch it in whenever someone asks me for that code or reply with the code. And even though we see now a lot of providers, they actually will send you a code and they'll say at the bottom in big letters, do not share this with anyone. People still often fall victim to it. And I think smishing has been on the rise specifically to bypass 2FA.
Yeah.
And where it's being used as that text message is being used as a second factor or what have you. So this is where I think it's really been ramped up.
Well, and they're pretty clever with some of this, man. Like over here, Facebook Marketplace, okay, where people buy and sell. A lot of times people will put something up for sale and the scammer on the other side says, hey, I'm going to send you a code to verify that you are who you say you are, because they're scammers, right?
Yeah.
And so somebody gets a code, they give them the code. And what it's actually doing is they're taking like their phone number that they talked you out of, and they're signing you up for a Google Voice number.
Yeah.
And so that 2FA comes through, that rolls through, they enter it. Now they've associated a Google Voice number with your cell phone, and they can use that to go scam other people. But people go, oh, it must be this 2FA thing that makes everything secure. And so they just give them the code. I mean, there's some clever stuff behind what they're doing to get those multi-factor codes.
Yep. It's all the rage these days, kids. So I think the simplest way to think about it is the 2FA code you have is just like your passwords. Hey, Ian. Yes, we do have a YouTube channel. It's called The Erich Show.
You know, it's kind of funny. It's a little hard to find sometimes, honestly,
Yeah,
because
it is.
it always wants to default over to Jericho. But
yes,
The Erich Show is the site. And actually, are you going there, Javvad?
I can go on there. Hold on.
Okay. And just yeah, we can tell you where we're at there. But in the meantime, I'll do some song and dance.
I've paused it. I've had to pause it, but this is us in real time.
That is.
See, this is the kind of quality customer service we offer here, along with our great marketing skills. But you can see it's called The Erich Show. That is the thing. So if you click on there, it's at The Erich Show. At The Erich Show.
There we go.
That's it. Excellent.
Thank you, Ian. Thanks for asking.
Yep.
Now, so we've been sidetracked once again.
It's all right. Look, this is a show for the people, you know, whatever the people want, you know.
We're like, somebody's talking to us. Oh, this is great.
That's the story of your life, isn't it, Eric? That awkward kid looking at his own shoes.
Yeah, that describes my dating life in high school, you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's so bold of you to assume like try and trick us all into thinking you actually had a dating life in high school. I said, don't think I don't see you what you did there.
Yeah.
Anyway, you know, we're in this recession, global recession we're told about, and everyone's trying to find ways to save money. Salesforce. So this reminds me of this urban myth, and you might have heard of this before. You know, there was someone that went to a company that makes boxes of matches, and they said, I can save you X amount of money. And they said, okay. And he goes, in return, I want a percentage of the revenue from everything that I saved. They said, okay, if you can save us whatever. And he goes, you know, the strip that you strike the match against, put it only on one side of the box, because there's enough there to light all the matches and you'll save the cost of that. And so whatever. A similar urban myth was someone went to a toothpaste company and he goes, I can make you more profitable if you give me a share of the profits. And they said, what's the secret? He goes like, make the diameter of the hole where the toothpaste comes out of like 1 millimeter bigger or 2 millimeters bigger. So people will end up using more toothpaste. They'll run out of toothpaste quicker. So they'll go buy more toothpaste quicker and what have you. And this sounds like, and these are urban myths. I don't know whether they're true or not, but this next story reminds me of those. And Salesforce has come up with an ingenious way to save money.
Oh, no.
And that is, they're going to sweat their infrastructure like a Bangladeshi kid working in a Nike factory. So they are going to get them to work for an extra year or two for all of the infrastructure. So at the moment, like all your hardware has a 3-year life cycle normally. They're saying let's extend it to 4 years or maybe 5 years. So so we will get more bang for the buck in there. And I thought this was an excellent so their CFO in 23 earnings call, we are going to change the deprecation of useful life of certain equipment. For infrastructure related equipment, this has changed from 4 to 5 years. And for IT employee equipment, it's changed from 3 to 4 years. And I know how you are with your equipment. Imagine if you had to run your laptop for 4 years instead of 3, it would be grinding to a halt by the end of that.
I actually think my laptop is about 3 years old. My work issued one.
Yeah, so you're due an upgrade.
Yeah. But I love that they're saying, okay, let's take the foundation that everything else is built on, and let's try to make it work for an extra year. Let's go with the infrastructure and hope that it holds on. I mean, didn't Southwest Airlines try this last year? Didn't this not work out so well? I mean, the timing there is one of those things that I don't think somebody just was reading a newspaper in the restroom and said, arbitrarily, let's make it 3 years. 3 years sounds like a good number. Flip to the next page. You know what I mean? This is something that's kind of figured out through tried and true sort of experience. And kudos to them for being willing to take the businesses that run using Salesforce and risk that.
Yeah.
For them.
Indeed. And what I think is really interesting about this, so actually the story goes, let me just get the story back. The story goes on that it's not actually them. It's not the only tech giant that has decided hardware can last longer. Microsoft has extended the life of some servers to 6 years, while Google stretched the life of servers to 4 years, and happy running some 5-year-old networking kit.
Some of this probably does. It probably depends on what you're buying. Okay. So if you're buying stuff that's already, a generation or even like just the current generation commodity type stuff, maybe it's not a good idea to stretch it. If you are buying the newest, greatest, spending extra to get the new DDR5 or 6 or whatever the hell it is that's floating around out there, right? And, maybe you can pull it out that long, but it just seems a bit concerning.
It is. I tell you what's really interesting, though, and we'll wrap up on this point. What they probably haven't fully thought is what the backlash from hardware manufacturers will be. Do you think they will take this lying down? I don't think so.
Well, I think that's a good point.
There might be some forced deprecation or unsupported hardware or failed components
or price adjustments. You're extending the life by 1/3. Oh, well, ironically, that's what the price just went up.
Yeah.
Supply chain issues. It's supply chain issues.
Exactly.
No, it'll be interesting to see how that works out. And you know what I mean? In all honesty, we got to do what we can in some cases to try to adjust that. Maybe stuff's more reliable than it was. It's probably better not to be filling up the landfills and stuff like that with more electronics. And so if it works, awesome. If it doesn't, well, crap.
And on that note, we will leave Erich, because crap is probably the thing that sums it up best and leaves us with the state of InfoSec today. I hope you had a wonderful time. I've enjoyed having you today, and hopefully see you again next week. Until then, stay secure.